All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the official Paris Blockchain Week podcast. Today's guest, JP Marcos, CEO, co-founder of Codigo. And let's just have a quick introduction to your background. It's fascinating. Serial entrepreneur, angel investor in over 50 companies, and now CEO of Codigo, a cutting-edge AI-powered development platform purpose-built for Web3. With a unique mix of startup wisdom and technical depth, JP is now aiming to transform how developers build on blockchain. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing we should add is actually this is your second AI company. We'll get a little more into that during the course of the interview. So first off, you built and backed a lot of startups. What inspired you to go all in on building Codigo?
First principles. Most of the companies that I've started before, this is my third company, I started from just personally experiencing a pain point. And in this case, I was actually more inspired by my co-founder who founded a company called Onera. Onera builds systems for traditional banks to enable their customers to transact from traditional ledgers to multiple blockchains.
Oh, wow.
Right? So, and he started doing that in 2017.
Yeah.
So his experience was whatever I would build in one chain, I would build the exact same thing on another chain, and another chain, another chain. And so he had a very, very good view on how painful it is, and also which one was a little bit more advanced. And I was fascinated, with friends, we're hanging out. He was my chief architect in my previous company. And when he was pulling his hair out that he was going through so much pain, I was just seeing opportunity. So, okay, this space, the crypto space, is about 15 years behind the cloud in terms of maturity. Yeah. Right? There's an opportunity for us to level up and to build the kind of tools that today are taken for granted if you are on AWS or Google. Yeah. And that was inspiration. It was like his journey as a builder, going through just a lot of friction, and me essentially just with an objective view saying, okay, there's an opportunity there, we're just going to grab it. It was very reminiscent of the circumstances that led me to build my previous company in AI. Yes. But that was essentially the impetus for us, the pain point.
Let's just quickly talk about that. So you started an AI company in 2015, is that correct? And what was the name of that company?
It's called Signify. Okay,
and I would love to hear a little bit more about that, and I would love to hear how the AI market has changed from 2015 to now. Because you were obviously way ahead of the mass adoption curve when your first first AI startup was founded. So,
well, in 2015, we were pitching a product that was doing what's called root cause analysis for DevOps engineers. So DevOps engineers make sure that your system is up and running. Yeah. And their life was one where they would do a lot of manual processes to troubleshoot things that typically would fail at night. Yes. Right. They were the sacrificial lamb of big enterprise companies, always having just a horrible, very just very, very manual process. Yeah. And we helped transform that profession where today is completely automated. They have a great life, etc. But when I was pitching this in 2015, it took me 9 months to raise my seed round. Wow. And I was pitching to all the VCs in the Valley who today are AI first, of course, right? Who profess to be really early. And I was hearing a lot of jokes about Skynet, so they just didn't get it. Right?
Did they just think you were crazy almost?
They thought that artificial intelligence was a fully loaded term. I was explaining artificial intelligence is actually an academic field of research that's 30 years old. Right? It's a legitimate term. Yeah. We are using it to solve a real product. And a lot of them passed, but not all of them. We were able to get funded from Highland Capital Partners who saw the vision, and we were early. And what happened very quickly, it was very, very strange, because in 2015 it was really novel, contrarian almost. 2 years later, AI hit the mainstream, and things just switched in the mind of the whole valley essentially was AI is the future. And what happened to us at that time is we were one of the early companies. We're already having products, customers. We're also very visible. I was talking a lot about educating people about AI. Just said, this is what it is, this is what it's not, this is how it's going to evolve. So we were very, very visible. We're punching definitely above our weight. We became an acquisition target for every single company of our space.
Wow.
And there was so much interest, it was very hard to resist. And we had very nice exit. We became part of a public company called New Relic. And then we built like a really interesting platform as part of New Relic that essentially just became the platform for DevOps engineers. So that was my story. So seeing the being early just before you hit the mainstream to now, where if you're not AI, you're not a company, essentially.
Right, exactly,
it's completely gone.
Like everybody's like, where's the AI part, right? Yeah, it's crazy. Because I got in the Web3 space in 2021, and right around, I guess, like 2023, 2024, like if you didn't have AI in your decks, like you were done. I mean, so it's fascinating, and I just love like what you're building too, because I believe that this is one of like the best use cases for kind of like AI and Web3 getting in the mainstream. So how's your experience as an angel investor shaped how you lead and scale Codigo today?
Well, I've been very lucky to have relationship with awesome entrepreneurs. And I learn a lot from them. And it's just like machine learning. You see what works, what doesn't work. You see the, both in terms of best practices, but also the personal characteristics of entrepreneur. And that shapes me as an entrepreneur myself. Like I've got all these role models to draw from, and I try to to suck in as much wisdom as I can. Obviously, so far so good, but I would say that the combination of being an entrepreneur yourself and also an investor is perfect. It allows you to essentially make fewer mistakes, the way I say it.
All right, so let's get into kind of the meat and potatoes of this interview. AI versus blockchain. Building at the speed of thought. From vision and execution, Codigo is one of the first platforms to combine specialized AI models with blockchain native development tools. What problems were you trying to solve?
Well, there was a podcast in the Solana ecosystem that was super successful between 2018 and 2023 called Chewing Glass. It's a generic term, but essentially it was all about developers talking about how difficult and painful it is to learn Rust, to build on Solana native, essentially just to build on Solana, right? And they were trying to share best practices and vent their frustration and so the problem we're trying to solve is that it takes 6 months, it takes months just to learn how to code. And when you build something, there's so many pitfalls, so many potential mistakes that you can make in terms of security. So it's very expensive. You need a team that has multiple types of capabilities. For instance, for your front end, you're going to have like a React or a Python developer. Then you need like a native blockchain developers, like those are completely different. They need to work very well together. The chains are changing all the time. And there's so many potential security flaws that can come from the bad quality of your code. We solve that problem. Right? So we essentially build a technology that allow people to make sure that they can go a little faster putting their ideas into the hand of users. We make sure that the code is production ready, that is high quality, there's more security, and we transform people from pure programmers to engineers. What I mean by that is that they start thinking more about the business, right, and what they can do for users, as opposed to how you make that happen. That's essentially our value add.
I love that. So can you walk us through a real use case? How is Codigo helping shape Web3 teams go from idea to mainnet faster?
Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you want to build a new wallet or a new DEX or a new DeFi dApp of some sort, right? Your typical experience is just to code it yourself. It could take, depending on the quality of your team, it could take you several weeks. Here, you have, through our platform, 3 choices for how you can make that happen faster. The first one is through chat. You simply enter natural language. It's like, I want an application that has this or that characteristic.
Yeah.
You can be very high level. You can also be very prescriptive in terms of the implementation. I want these data types, these functions, whatever it is. If you're a programmer, you're just going to tend to have like very detailed prompts.
Yeah.
And if you're not a programmer, you're going to have more high level. But the point is, we understand your input, and we just give you a code. We give you 100% of a decentralized application, from the front end to the smart contract boilerplate, the business logic, the client SDK, the documentation, the security checks, the test case templates. So everything that you would have to do yourself is essentially served to you.
Yes.
From that code, you can make it your own. You say, well, I don't like this, I don't like that, I can change this. But the point is, like, you have it instantly, right? We also give you the choice, if you simply just want to code manually and you want to get like 20%, 25% of faster productivity, to leverage what's called a co-pilot, a code assistant. All our technology has been built from the ground up. We don't leverage another model. We're not like a ChatGPT wrapper, or we've created our data, we train our models specifically for that use case, and our models perform better than anything that's generic out there. So you have essentially like a colleague, right? An automated colleague that makes sure that you don't have this syntax error, that allows you to just, ask questions very quickly and go faster in your development. That's another possibility. We also give you the most extensive library of templates that exist in the Solana ecosystem.
Wow.
Right? So we have 75 templates, everything from every single token program that is a component of an application to like full use cases in DeFi, meme coins, decentralized applications. So that's essentially 3 choices that you have depending on your level of skill and how you want to program, where you can just jumpstart your coding process and get to your prototype or your idea, your MVP much faster. Not only that, but what we do is we really are an enterprise solution that tries to be production ready, right? So we like the concept of vibe coding. You know what vibe coding is, right?
Explain it, because I bet you a lot of people out here listening don't know what vibe coding is. So
I think vibe coding simply refers to coding with AI to get to like a prototype super fast. But that also tends to imply that your initial prototype, you still have a lot of work to do before you can actually put it to mainnet, right? What we do is we think more enterprise, where if we give you code, you could take it to production, right?
Wow.
So you spend a lot of time making sure that technology is ready to that level of requirement, that it meets a very, very high threshold of security standards. So you go a lot faster, and you transform, like I said, from a programmer to an engineer, where you start spending time thinking about your users, spending time with your next functionality. You essentially have the equivalent of 2 or 3 colleagues that are working for you super fast.
Crazy.
And you can have more impact on your business.
It's amazing. That's amazing. So let's talk about smarter dev environments. What makes an AI model purpose-built for Web3 different from a general-purpose AI like ChatGPT or Copilot?
So those tools, first of all, are unbelievable. They're amazing. They're magical.
Yes.
And those tools are great for certain things. So if they've been trained on 1.8 trillion lines of Python code, like 50% of that of Java code, massive amount of PHP open source code. Like if you're a traditional software developer, those tools are really, really good, right? However, they don't know blockchain development simply because there's very little data out there. And so they typically are, they're as good as the data that you feed them. And you need a lot of data, especially because they're trained using a method of training called unsupervised learning. But Solana, for instance, represents a volume of data that is 0.007% the size of the data set that exists for Python.
Wow.
So if you use unsupervised learning, you just don't have enough data to be really good. So they produce code very quickly, but they hallucinate very, very quickly as well. And they fail security checks. The code doesn't compile. There's a lot of syntax errors. Everything in terms of dependencies is outdated. Like if you go down one layer on the code, you can very, very, very quickly see that the code is not what we do is we take that extreme data scarcity constraint,
Yes.
right, and we work with it. We don't use unsupervised learning. We use supervised learning, where everything is completely labeled. So we spend a lot of time on the data, making sure that every single data point is explained to the model in a very explicit way. The second is that we try to actually limit the surface area of an LLM. In the case of ChatGPT, it's all LLM. You go from prompt to like a full application. We use a combination of expert system or rules-based engine and LLM, which is better suited for this particular use case. And finally, we also build a platform where the agents, the software itself is optimized for a particular workflow.
Wow.
Right? So you have like the libraries that are already integrated, like you have the right connections, in terms of deployments. Like that aspect is also very important, saves a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's the difference between doing something, that needs to be smart in general and doing something that's extremely, extremely specific. If you train your system for something very, very specific, it's very easy to be better than a generic tool for that very specific use case. Our focus is just crypto. We only care about crypto. We are specialized and experts in that.
I love it.
And that's our advantage.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So how does your platform support security, auditability, and collaboration for teams building in high-stakes blockchain environments?
So in crypto, everything is high stakes, meaning that code is money 99% of the time. Right? So the bar is very, very high. And we deal with security in several ways. So I mentioned something about data curation, right? So data curation means that you take like raw data and you take it through several filters to make sure that the data that you're going to feed into your model is of a certain quality, has certain characteristics. One of those filters is security checks. So we have a battery of 150 security checks.
Wow.
So when a repo comes in, we've sanitized it and then we pass it through the security checks. We give it a score, and if it passes, and typically less than 50% of repos pass our security checks, and that is appropriate to train the model. So that's one way. So if you teach a model data that abides by very high security standards, the output is likely to abide by very high security standards as well. In addition, we have standard security checks that come built in with the platform, right? Because if I give you code, you're likely to change it. So whatever we've produced, it's going to change anywhere. But we give you another layer where you just press a button and then we can extra check your code that you've touched to make sure that everything is. But one of the key things that we do is we use a lot of rule-based engine or symbolic AI. This is code that we control 100%, that we have audited, and that code is production ready and abides by very high security standard. The summary of everything is that if you don't have security, you don't have a business. So for us, it's a question of just an existential threat not to be very, very high in terms of security ranking. Security is our business. If our code doesn't produce more secure output than a standard developer most of the time, why use us? So we put a lot of emphasis on security.
I love that. In a world filled with dev tooling platforms, what makes Codigo's approach fundamentally different? So
in the past 2 years, AI and coding has been the #1 theme for venture capital. There's been $3 billion invested in a variety of AI and coding tools. It's actually the #1 theme in venture capital. So there's a plethora of AI and coding tools. Not a single one of them is focused on crypto.
Crazy. Crazy.
I tell you why. It's very simple. There are 30 million developers in the world, and it's growing to 45 million developers 5 years from now. And in the Electric Capital report that tracks the number of open source contributors in crypto, there's 25,000 monthly contributors. So you focus on the bigger market,
of course.
So all these other companies ignore crypto completely. Our differentiation simply is that our crypto is all whole focus.
Right.
So we fill in a gap.
Right.
It's a classic niche opportunity.
Of course.
We want to be the leaders in something that is completely disregarded, but our view is that crypto is actually a very high growth opportunity. If you take a 5-year, 10-year perspective, we
Yes.
believe that the market will grow with it. And by the way, it's a very, very similar situation than Signify in 2015. We were early for AI, but we were also early for DevOps. There was a number that was circulating that there were 10,000 DevOps engineers in 2015 in the world.
Wow.
Right? People who self-qualified themselves as
Yeah,
DevOps. And then 3 years later, people realized that DevOps is actually a multi-billion-dollar opportunity.
Yeah.
Today, many companies have gone public,
Yeah.
on the back of being focused on the DevOps space. And so I like niche where you can be the leader, we can be early, and you grow with the niche.
Yeah.
Our view is that crypto has that long-term growth potential.
I love that. I love that. What types of teams or use cases are getting the most value of what you've built so far?
So far, people who are just getting started, right? So we just released. So the ones that we are seeing on the platform right now, they want to participate to the Solana Global Hackathon. They are an EVM team that wants to transition to Solana. They don't know how, and they need a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's that start of the process, right?
Yeah.
Because you can get from 0 to 1 very, very, very quickly, and then you go from there.
Yeah.
Typically, those teams, they're in a rush to get to market. And every day that passes that they don't have a solution where they can actually test their ideas with users, it's money, it's burn. And so everything that you can do to just get them safely is super high value for them.
Yeah.
That's how we're getting started. But our ambition is to provide value to established projects as well.
Yeah.
Projects are always maintaining that code base, and you can do it in a traditional way, but you can also leverage our AI assistant tools. You can leverage a lot of the technology that we're building. So we're going to transition to established projects. But right now, the action is people who just want to build a business, and it's the first time that they are starting working on it.
I love that. I love that. All right. This is time for the lightning round. This is the fun part of the interview. Quick questions, quick answers. All right? Code or no code? Where do you stand on the no code movement in blockchain? Helpful or harmful?
Helpful if you want to build something that has already been built before. The way no code works is if you're doing a meme coin, then people have built a no code solution for that meme coin. However, if you don't want to do something that's completely new, no code is useless. So we are in the code category.
Yes. I love that. Token or broken? What's the biggest myth Web3 founders have about building with AI?
Right now, the biggest myth in Web3 is that it doesn't work.
Right. I literally was at a dinner last night, and there was long story, but a couple of the engineers were having a conversation about somebody that the founder brought in that's going to use basically vibe coding to build something, and they were all skeptical, and there was already they were already concerned that it was not going to, that individual was not going to be able to deliver what he promised.
So. With good reason.
Yeah.
Our pitch is that generic AI doesn't work for Web3. But we're here now.
Yeah.
We're coming.
We're coming. I love it. Open source or overload? What's one thing the dev community gets wrong when choosing tools?
What do get? Interesting. Let me think about it. I guess the tendency right now is to wait for the Web 2 tools. So if I'm a Web3 developer, I think that the tools I've heard about is Cursor, Replit. What they get wrong is that they should develop with Cursor and Replit, even though those tools are not for their use case. That's what they get wrong.
Right. I love it. They need to be using Codigo, right?
We're just in the market. They're going to know about us pretty soon.
I love it. Gas or glass ceiling? What's stopping more women and diverse devs from entering blockchain engineering, and how do we change it?
Well, I think that engineering and computer science in general has, a minority of women. So it's the same as in blockchain. I'd say that the blockchain community is very welcoming. There's a very strong movement and a very strong sort of sisterhood of female engineers who support one another, and they're very vocal and they advocate a lot for one. And I think that nothing should stop them, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the thing that should stop them is that it's completely different and therefore it's difficult to learn. It takes a lot of investment, but this is the same for male engineers.
Yeah.
I think that with us, they'll be able to just come and become builders and be just as successful a lot faster as their male counterparts.
All right. Yeah, I love that. Code GPT or Code Cage? Where do you draw the line between AI helping devs and AI replacing them?
I think in the Web3 space, it's not a relevant question. I tell you why. We don't have enough developers.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are a niche space. Like in a world where there's 30 million developers right now.
Yeah.
I mentioned the electric capital with 23,000 developers monthly.
23,000.
23,000. These are just the contributors to open source. It's estimated that there must be between 200,000 to 300,000 blockchain developers.
So there's a massive opportunity.
We don't have enough people.
Right, but there is a massive opportunity for people that want to be developers, right?
We need to give those people, well, exactly. We need more developers to come in.
Right.
But the ones who are already here, we should give them the ability to behave as if there were like 10 of them.
10x them.
Right? So AI can really have a dramatic impact in making sure that there's more innovation in the Web3 space.
I love that. I love that.
So we're not replacing Web3 developers anytime soon because we're far from having enough of them.
Yeah. I love that. Governance Gala. If Codigo could collaborate with any one ecosystem or protocol next, who's at the top of your list?
The EVM community. They're the biggest community.
Yeah.
We started with Solana because we truly believe in early 2023, when it was not sexy. We truly believe in the value proposition of Solana. Instead of 10 transactions per second on EVM, we had a chain that had the ambition to make it a lot faster, a lot cheaper, and we thought that long term they would figure it out because they had a great engineering tool. But the fact remains that Solana has come a long way. It's one of the top ecosystems, but the biggest ecosystem today, and that's not going to change for a while, is the Solidity community or the EVM community, and therefore that's our next
Love
community.
that. Final question, AI versus Web3. Is this a convergence that transforms how we code forever, or just the first draft?
No, it's a long-term trend. 5 years from now, you're going to have systems that can build an entire decentralized application end-to-end very reliably. I'm talking about front-end, the smart contract, and everything. And that's going to give access to everybody to become a chain developer. That's the future.
Wow.
The question is, where we are on that journey and how we can make it happen faster. But that's what's happening across the world in software development in general. It's inevitable.
So this is the Paris Blockchain Week podcast. It's the first time it's ever been done. Is this your first Paris Blockchain Week, or?
No, a couple of years ago, for our first experience at Paris Blockchain Week, we were finalists on stage at the startup competition. We just pitched in our idea. And we were super lucky to be selected, to have like an amazing exposure. That led to our initial fundraise, including from the organizers of the Paris Blockchain Week. That puts us in the saddle. And that really, showed us that your dreams can become reality. It was great. And for me, it's very special because of that experience to be back a couple of years later when we're launching our platform. Everything got us started here.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you've spoken at plenty of global events. How does Paris Blockchain Week stand out from the rest?
I'd say that it's the highest production value
Wow.
by
Wow.
far. Have you been to ETH Denver?
I have not, but I just know that we're inside the Louvre, and I feel like, yeah, ETH Denver versus being inside the Louvre, I don't know. It's.
There was a dinner a couple of days ago.
Oh, the private dinner? Yeah.
Yeah, the private-
I was there.
yeah,
I saw the Mona Lisa. I mean, it was crazy. Like, what kind of event has a private viewing of the Mona Lisa? I mean, it's insanity.
I was a little early, and I was literally by myself on
In
the
the
corridors.
Louvre. Oh, wow, that's amazing.
I was just, it was just unbelievable. So
Yeah.
I spoke to one of the organizers who told me, one of the Louvre employees who told me that there's this event in the Louvre, and then some time ago there was an event with Beyonce and Jay-Z when they come to Paris, and that's it.
That's it. Those are the only time you ever see the private, really.
Nobody else is allowed to come here for any event. And so
Wow.
you're never going to have that across the world, no matter how awesome the other venues are.
That's
this
crazy.
is really, really special. And therefore it attracts, just very, very high profile.
Yeah. That is insane. I did not know that fact. That even makes it more cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
The other thing that I would say for the Paris Blockchain Week is they've done an amazing job, more than a lot other crypto events, in really branching out to a lot of industries.
Yes.
Right, so
Yeah.
you see, not just traditional financial sectors, but also manufacturing, media,
Yeah.
like just some really big companies. You don't think of companies like that as blockchain companies or
Yeah.
Web3 companies,
Yeah.
but they're here.
Yeah.
They want to make business. They are investigating, and that's different. The other events tend to be more like crypto-centric.
Yeah.
This one is broader,
Yeah.
which is very remarkable.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. What's one insight from this week that made you rethink or reaffirm your product vision?
We spent a lot of time with developers, and there has been no developer. There hasn't been a single one who just doesn't want to sign up and try the platform.
Wow.
And so we just got a lot of validation.
Yeah.
It was super encouraging.
And what signal are you seeing beneath all the noise that other builders might be missing?
I think what other builders might be missing is the concept of LLMs are not the end all. In fact, in the way we built our technology, we try to minimize the surface area of LLMs. We use other AI techniques
Yeah.
to get to the end result. And that's super important. We got validation. I don't know if you saw about a month ago, DeepMind from Google released a system, an AI system that is amazing at solving math problems, right? Just better
Yeah.
than the champion of the world for some type of very advanced math problems. They use a combination of a rule-based engine and LLM, and that gives them the best, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just LLM, and actually we have the exact same approach. We use a rule-based engine in combination with LLM, and that's something that is overlooked by entrepreneurs, is that LLM is super sexy, but
Right.
you just have to look at what it's good at
Right.
and what it's not good at.
Right.
There are other ways to achieve your end result other than LLM, but obviously it's good to have it part of the mix.
Yeah.
If it gets you a high quality of output, and in our case it does, but we only use it sparsely.
I love that. So some closing thoughts. Codigo is clearly reimagining how builders interact with blockchain infrastructure. What's next on the roadmap?
We think that we want to transform that community in the first place. But what we would like is to make it possible for people to think about blockchain as part of their technical stack. It's like at some point we imagine that businesses will choose blockchain technology for a portion of the technical stack the same way they choose a database, right?
Right.
The people who are going to do that, they're not necessarily crypto-native blockchain engineers. Our goal is to make it easy for them to be able to leverage blockchain technology in a way that doesn't require them to spend 1 year or 6 months trying to learn the technology.
Yeah.
Our vision is that to really become mainstream, it has to be branching out outside of the crypto space. That's what we're trying to achieve.
I love that. And what excites you most about this next chapter in Web3, and how will Codigo help shape it?
I think the next chapter in Web3 is to go mainstream, right? To reach 1 billion users.
Yes.
And at some point to have builders that are not, hardcore blockchain developers, but just anyone with an idea.
Yeah.
Right? That's essentially how we grow as an industry. And that's our vision. Like, we believe that we are an entry point that allows you to, when you can start developing from a prompt.
Yeah.
Right? It's very similar to the experience of making a request on ChatGPT or on Perplexity or on Gemini.
Yeah.
And then you get your application end to end. That allows other people to build that are new to the space.
Yeah.
And if that happens, we have more at-bats, more innovation, and more chances to find that next, stable coin, next idea that's going to get 1 billion users.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially our goal. Our goal is to really foster innovation and build a bigger community than we are today.
I love that. And what is the best way for people to learn about Codigo, as well as what's the best way to people to follow you and all the things that you're doing?
Our website is codigo.ai, and we are just about to add a playground there. A playground is something where you don't need to sign up. You can just simply enter a prompt, and then you can start experiencing the product and get an application done.
I love that.
Right?
I love
so it's very easy. Just go to our website. We're a web-based application anyway, and from there, follow the signs, and you'll be able to get an account and sign up. And if you want to. I'm on Twitter. I'm at JP Codigo. Our platform is Codigo Platform.
Okay.
And we're just going to post. We're on CT, and that's essentially going to be our main of communication.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, we can have another conversation and visit with you later on in the year to see where you're at. I mean, this has been amazing. I'm really excited. This is probably one of my favorite use cases and stories right now in the Web3 space. I feel like this is like where more people need to be focusing their attention. And I think you're going to solve a big problem. I think you're going to help create mass adoption in the space, which is going to be a win for everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.